Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS Talking College Football Week 2. Week 1 went okay. Finished plus 1.50 units. Anytime you gamble on football for 4 straight days and finish with more money than when you started, I'd consider it a success. Wasn't exactly a monster weekend, but I'll take it. In this one, we're breaking down Illinois at Kansas. This line opened up Kansas -2. Total opened up at 51.5. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
So like I said, line opened up Kansas -2. Early public comes in on the Jayhawks, and the line jumps up from 2 to 3. Since then, really no edge on either side. Seems like the odds makers really have this one pegged at 3 even, because the action's coming in about 50-50 split both ways. So in this matchup, we're looking at two teams that were basically exact opposites last year. Illinois offensively just 42nd running the ball, 73rd throwing it. Kansas all the way down at 29th and 16th. So Kansas offense much better than Illinois, as you know. But defensively, Illinois had one of the best defenses in the country, 12th against the run, 2nd against the pass. Kansas all the way back at 88th and 118th. So we got Kansas, who last year had an explosive offense and a terrible defense, against Illinois, who last year had a mediocre offense and an elite defense. But the returning production is very one-sided in this one, all pointing towards Kansas. Jayhawks are actually rated 2nd in the entire country in estimated overall returning production, 1st on offense, 10th on defense. Illinois all the way back at 71st. So let's start with Illinois' defense, and as I mentioned, last year under Ryan Walters, defensive coordinator, they were absolute juggernaut. They're 2nd in FBS in points per game allowed, 4th in yards per game allowed. He took over a bad Illinois defense in 2021, and he turned them into a top 5 defense in the country in just 2 years. Here's the problem. Ryan Walters is gone. He took the head coaching job at Purdue, which you probably already know. On top of that, lockdown corner Devin Witherspoon, he got drafted number 5 overall by the Seahawks back in April. Illinois definitely has some talent returning on the defensive side of the ball, but losing the coordinator and your superstar corner is definitely a hit. And we saw it in their season opener last week against Toledo. Toledo's quarterback, DeQuan Finn, combined for 305 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Illini. Toledo dropped 28 points in the game. The highest amount of points anyone scored on Illinois all last season was 31 by Purdue. Toledo just hung 28 on them in the opener. Also, Toledo went 7 of 15 on 3rd down and 2 for 2 on 4th down. Illinois had one of the best 3rd and 4th down conversion rates on defense in the entire FBS last year. If DeQuan Finn and Toledo's offense is giving Illinois problems, what's Jalen Daniels in Kansas about to do? In case you didn't watch any Kansas football last year, Lance Leipold took over the head coaching job back in 2021. It's a really bad program with a terrible offense, and in 2021, it went pretty much as expected. But last year in 2022, his 2nd year with the team, the offense absolutely exploded. Kansas went from a bottom 30 offense to a top 30 offense in 1 year. Quarterback Jalen Daniels led the entire FBS in QBR. He was named 2nd team All Big 12 despite missing 5 games. This same offense now leads the entire country in returning production at 91%. Not only do they return 10 starters, but even most of their reserves remain the same on the roster. This is basically the exact same offense, and after seeing what Toledo did to Illinois, I'm expecting Kansas to score on this Illini defense, especially at home. But to be honest, the more interesting matchup, in my opinion, is the other side, the weak spots for both teams, the Illinois offense against the Kansas defense. The Jayhawks defense last year was bottom 30 in points per game, yards per game, 3rd down conversions, average passer rating, yards per carry, bottom 30 in all those categories in 2022. And you want to know what's crazy? It was actually an improvement, because in 2021, Kansas allowed 44.7 points per game, which was dead last in the FBS. So their defense was bad last year, but it was actually a step forward somehow. Kind of a good news, bad news here for Kansas on the defensive side. They do return 7 starters, so obviously that's good news. Bad news is they're mostly all in the secondary and linebacking core. They have to replace all 4 defensive linemen. And if you look at beta rank, Kansas was notably better against the run than the pass. So losing the 4 defensive linemen that probably had a big part in making that happen, that should definitely hurt. But as bad as Kansas defense may be this year, there's still hope because this game is at home. Look, The defense wasn't good at home last year, but it was much better than it was on the road in terms of points per game, yards per game, and third down conversion allowed. And for all the negatives I just said about Kansas defense, they did have one strength last year. They were 20th in the FBS, forcing 1.8 turnovers per game. That's huge. And as far as the Illinois offense goes, I know Luke Altmaier looked pretty solid in their opener last week against Toledo, but I can't ignore some of these red flags here. First of all, the guy only has 92 career dropbacks and 80 career pass attempts. This is his third year, so 2 seasons and a game. That's not a lot of pass attempts. 80? And in those 92 career dropbacks, he's thrown 4 picks and been sacked 12 times. That's an interception every 20 pass attempts and a sack every 7 dropbacks. And to add to Illinois' concern here, this offense wasn't even good in the first place. I mean, yes, they took a big step forward last year offensively, but they were still just 86th in points per game, 77th in yards per game, ranked 63rd in the FBS according to BetaRank. But you got to take out Chase Brown. He's in the NFL now. He had 1,600 yards last year. Who's going to fill that void? Real quick, got a few trends here. A couple negative ones for Illinois. They're 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 road openers. 6-8 against the spread since 2020, coming off a win. A couple positive ones, though. 3-1 against the spread versus non-conference opponents last season, and 6-2 against the spread as road dogs since 2021. 8-2 against the spread on the road overall since 2021 as well. So a couple positive, couple negative for Illinois. Same goes for Kansas. Got some positive, some negative. Kansas is 3-0 against the spread in their last 3 versus the Big Ten. 3-0 against the spread as home favorites last year. 4-0 against the spread versus non-conference opponents last year. And 4-1-1 against the spread coming off a win since 2022. But I got a negative one here. All those trends I just read off for Kansas, in the previous 9 seasons before last year, they were 15-34 against the spread. So it depends on if you buy into the Jayhawks turnaround. As far as what I'm personally doing, I'm taking the over at 56.5. I think people are still looking at Illinois as an under team based on last year. I'm not seeing it that way. I took the over in Illinois Toledo in week 1. I'm going to play the over here. As far as betting aside in this one, it's a bit square, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up laying the points with Kansas at an even 3 at home. I just can't see this Illinois offense keeping up. So I'll take the over 56.5 and probably also taking Kansas -3. If you want my top bets, parlays of the day, if you want to join the Discord, if you're interested in that stuff, head over to KyleKirms.com. I might go live Saturday morning at 11 a.m. I'll let you know. Still figuring that out. But if I do, what I do is go through all the games, make some final decisions, talk about the line movement, stuff like that. I'll let you know on that. College football week 2, a lot of good games, a lot of value on the board. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you on Twitter.